There is a truth so simple, so plain, and yet so relentlessly ignored that it passes unnoticed in the minds of the very people it could most transform. It is this: the man who commands himself commands the world. If you can master your mind, master your emotions, master your daily actions, then no force, no market, no competitor can hold you down for long. But if you remain a prisoner of impulse, a slave to the mood of the moment, then the greatest strategies, the best opportunities, the most favorable conditions will still leave you powerless. And I tell you, with the directness of one who has studied the lives of the most successful men and women in history, there is one daily habit, one discipline of mind that will put you ahead of 99% of people: the deliberate, relentless control over your inner world. This habit is not about hours worked, or contacts made, or markets timed. It is about the daily enforcement of a law. I will think what I choose to think. I will feel what I decide to feel. I will act in the way that serves my purpose regardless of circumstance. The average man has no such law. His thinking is a public square in which any passing thought can take the stage. His emotions are an open field for every passing influence to plant its seed. His actions are dictated by external prompts, the demands of others, the noise of news, the lure of distractions. He lives in reaction, not in creation. And the reactive man can never stay ahead, because he is always moving in response to forces that have already been set in motion by others. To stay ahead of 99% of people, you must reverse this order. You must begin your day as the architect begins a building with a plan that governs every action to follow. You must treat your mind as a fortress guarding what is allowed to enter, expelling what does not serve the defense. You must treat your emotions as disciplined soldiers trained to act only on your command, not on instinct alone. Understand this cause and effect. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. The man who reacts in anger, in fear, in impatience loses the advantage to the man who remains calm, deliberate, and precise. This is why emotional detachment is not a luxury. It is a necessity for anyone who would operate at the highest level. Emotional detachment does not mean a lack of feeling. It means a mastery of feeling. It is the ability to sense the rise of anger and choose not to speak in its heat. It is the ability to feel the pull of excitement and still hold to the plan. It is the power to walk away from a battle that does not matter and to commit fully to one that does. The man who can do this cannot be baited into wasting his energy, his time, or his focus, and this alone puts him far ahead of the reactive masses. But detachment without discipline is like a soldier with a shield, but no weapon. Discipline is the weapon you wield to turn control into conquest. It is the ability to give yourself an order and see it obeyed. It is waking when you said you would wake, working when you said you would work, finishing when you said you would finish, not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. This is the root of self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of all confidence. The undisciplined man cannot trust himself, and so he moves hesitantly, second-guessing every decision, fearing that he will abandon his own plan halfway through. But the disciplined man moves with certainty, because he has proven to himself day after day that he will follow through. The world senses this certainty and responds to it. People trust him. Opportunities gravitate toward him. Resources are placed in his hands. Now add to discipline the principle of accurate thinking, the habit of separating fact from opinion, truth from rumor, reality from wishful imagination. Most people are lost in a fog of assumptions. They act on what they hope is true, or what they fear is true, or what someone told them without proof. The man who insists on seeing the world as it is, who demands evidence, who tests every claim, who filters every idea through the lens of cause and effect, this man sees opportunities and dangers long before others do. And because he sees clearly, he can act decisively. But all of this detachment, discipline, accurate thinking will remain theory unless you add the spark that brings it to life, personal initiative. You must move first. You must act while others are still preparing. You must turn decisions into actions before hesitation can drain their strength. The man who moves first sets the terms. The man who moves second plays by them. This is the daily habit that keeps you ahead. To begin each day with a clear, definite purpose, to guard your mind from intrusion, to train your emotions to obey, to discipline your actions to match your plan. to think with clarity, and to move without waiting for permission. It is not dramatic in the moment. There will be no applause when you rise early, no cheering when you refuse a distraction, no headlines when you act before the crowd. But the effect over time is absolute. You will rise while others sink, you will advance while others wait, and you will remain calm while others are consumed by chaos. And one day, when the distance between you and the 99% has grown so wide that it can no longer be crossed, they will look at you and call you lucky. They will never understand that your advantage was built brick by brick in the quiet hours when no one was watching by the simple, relentless habit of controlling yourself before attempting to control anything else. So begin today. Guard your mind, command your emotions, discipline your actions, think with precision, move with initiative. Do this not for a week, not for a month, but for as long as you live. For the habit of inner mastery is not something you do to reach a goal. It is the very condition that allows you to set and achieve goals without limit. Stay ahead by staying in command. And remember, the man who owns himself can never be owned by anyone else. The first barrier to staying ahead of 99% of people is the illusion that you can win by doing what they do, only faster. Speed without direction is chaos. Effort without design is waste. You cannot outpace the masses if you run in the same circle. Definiteness of purpose is not merely knowing what you want, it is making it the fixed center of your existence, the standard by which every thought, every action, every emotion is judged. Without it, your daily habit will be aimless. With it, your daily habit will be precise, and precision is the beginning of mastery. Here is the cause and effect. When you know exactly what you want, the irrelevant dies by neglect. Distractions lose their hold, for you see clearly that they do not advance you. The pull of comfort weakens, for you understand that comfort unearned is the slowest form of death. The average man wakes each day asking, "What will the day bring me?" The man of purpose wakes asking, "What will I bring to this day to move my aim forward?" One lives in reaction, the other lives in creation. But even with purpose, most are defeated by the storms of emotion. They surrender the wheel of their own mind at the first gust of anger, the first cloud of fear, the first flash of excitement. They may know where they intended to go, but they will not arrive because the ship cannot hold its course if every change in weather sends it into a different wind. This is why emotional detachment is the first armor you must wear in the field of daily life. Detachment is not coldness. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of feeling. It is the ability to stand in the fire of insult and not lash out, to hear the siren song of praise and not drift into complacency, to feel the pull of fear and not retreat. If you can be provoked, you can be controlled. If you can be seduced by approval, you can be bought. If you can be broken by criticism, you can be conquered. Detachment severs these chains. Train it in small ways. When something irritates you, pause. When something excites you, pause. Do not give the moment your reaction until it has passed through the filter of your purpose. This simple act of waiting, of inserting thought before action, is the lever that moves you out of the 99%. Most people's decisions are made for them by whatever emotion shouts the loudest. Yours must be made by the quiet voice of your aim. Yet detachment alone will not win the day. It gives you the calm mind, but without discipline, calmness is merely a still pond, clear but unmoving. Discipline is the engine that moves you forward, no matter the mood, no matter the weather, no matter the noise from the crowd. Discipline is the daily enforcement of your own command. You say, "I will rise at this hour," and you rise. You say, "I will work until this task is done," and you work until it is done. You say, "I will finish this plan," and you finish it. Discipline is the proof that you can be trusted by yourself. Without it, your word, even to yourself, is worthless. The undisciplined man lives in self-betrayal. He may be loyal to others, but he is disloyal to himself. And so he hesitates, doubts, delays, for deep down he knows that when the moment comes, he will abandon his own orders. The disciplined man moves without hesitation because he knows he will obey himself. The world senses this confidence and bends to it. But even discipline must be guided by accurate thinking. A disciplined march toward a false assumption is not progress, it is disaster at high speed. Accurate thinking is the habit of seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. It is the refusal to act on rumor, to believe without evidence, to cling to a plan after the facts have proved it wrong. Accurate thinking requires you to separate fact from opinion. A fact is what exists, what can be proven. An opinion is what someone, perhaps even you, believes about that fact. The weak man confuses the two and acts on the opinion. The strong man tests, verifies, and then acts on the truth. This alone will put you years ahead of those who spend their lives chasing shadows. And then comes the final element, the spark that ignites all the others, personal initiative. Without initiative, all your purpose, all your calm, all your discipline, and all your accuracy will remain trapped in thought. Initiative is the decision to act before you feel ready, before you have every answer, before the crowd has given you its blessing. The man of initiative moves first, and because he moves first, he sets the terms. He sees an opening and takes it before others notice it exists. He begins building before others have finished planning. He writes the rules before others realize there is a game being played. This is not recklessness. It is the highest form of calculated courage. If you make this habit your own to rise each day with purpose, guard your mind with detachment, direct your actions with discipline, sharpen your judgment with accuracy, and move with initiative, then you will find yourself pulling ahead so far, so steadily, that the gap becomes permanent. The masses will still be debating while you are already executing. They will be reacting to events you set in motion. They will be surrendering to moods you have trained yourself to master. And they will wonder how you seem to be lucky, when the truth is that your luck is nothing more than the compound interest of self-command. This is how you stay ahead of 99% of people, by refusing to live as they live, think as they think, or act as they act. You do not chase the day you lead it. You do not wait for clarity, you create it. You do not react to opportunity, you produce it. And you do this not once in a while, but every single day, until the habit of mastery becomes the condition of your existence. The average man begins his day already behind. He wakes when the world tells him to, not when he has chosen. He reaches for his phone, not his thoughts. He allows the news, the chatter, the messages of others to occupy his mind before he has issued a single order to himself. By the time he is fully conscious, his mental space has already been invaded. His emotional state has already been set by forces outside his control, and his day is no longer his own. You must reverse this order. The man who stays ahead of 99% of people begins his day on his own terms with his own command. He decides what will enter his mind first. He decides what will receive his energy. He does not allow the moods or crises of others to dictate his direction before he has advanced his own position. This is the first act of sovereignty, claiming the morning before the world can claim you. This is where definiteness of purpose becomes more than theory. Your purpose is not just a sentence in a journal, it is the reason you rise. Without it, mornings are an accident. You wake when you wake, think what you think, do what comes to mind, and call it living. But with purpose fixed in the mind, the morning becomes a roll call, a daily check to ensure every resource, mental, emotional, physical, is reporting for duty in the service of your aim. Once the day has begun under your control, the second line of defense is emotional detachment. You must understand that the world is constantly broadcasting emotional contagion, fear in the headlines, outrage in conversations, excitement in the markets. Most people absorb these feelings without question and then act as though they were their own. The detached man stands at the gate of his emotions and decides which will be admitted. He knows that each emotion carries with it a certain kind of action, and therefore a certain kind of result. By choosing the emotion, he chooses the outcome. This is cause and effect in its purest form. Feel differently, act differently, live differently. And because the detached man does not allow every passing mood to dictate his action, he becomes steady. His competition burns energy in fits and starts surging forward in excitement, collapsing in discouragement, while he advances in the calm, measured pace of inevitability. But detachment without discipline is still potential, not power. Discipline is the force that converts calm intention into consistent progress. It is not the occasional act of pushing through resistance. It is the daily habit of doing what must be done, whether or not you feel like doing it. The disciplined man has the same temptations as any other, but he has trained himself to obey his own plan rather than his passing impulses. Discipline is the true test of self-respect. If you cannot keep a promise to yourself, then you cannot trust yourself, and if you cannot trust yourself, you will hesitate at the very moments when bold action is required. The disciplined man moves without hesitation because he knows he will follow through. This is why opportunities favor him, not because they are kinder to him, but because they sense that in his hands they will not be wasted. And yet, even the most disciplined man can become dangerous to himself if he marches with blind certainty toward the wrong objective. This is why accurate thinking must govern your discipline. The accurate thinker is not swayed by the size of his effort, but by the correctness of his direction. He will abandon a cherished habit if it does not serve his aim. He will tear down a structure he has spent years building if he discovers its foundation is unsound. Accurate thinking is rare because it demands the courage to be wrong and the humility to change. Most people will cling to a failing course simply because they have invested time or pride in it. The accurate thinker counts only the truth as an asset. All else is a liability. And because he is willing to adjust, his path, though not free of mistakes, is free of stagnation. Finally, all of this purpose, detachment, discipline, accuracy, remains invisible until you wield personal initiative. Initiative is the daily habit of acting without being told, of moving before the signal, of advancing while others are still preparing. The man of initiative does not wait for conditions to be perfect because he knows they never will be. He understands that the act of moving changes the conditions themselves, opening doors that planning alone could never reveal. This is why those with initiative seem lucky to the outside observer. They are not lucky. They are simply present at the moment when opportunity appears because they were already moving when it came into view. When you combine these 5 forces in a single daily habit, rising with purpose, filtering your emotions, executing with discipline, correcting with accuracy, and advancing with initiative, you build a compounding advantage that the 99% cannot match. They may work harder for a day, for a week, for a month, but they cannot match the unbroken chain of progress you forge. And the beauty of this habit is that it is invisible. No one will see you filter your thoughts before speaking. No one will see you refuse a distraction before it takes root. No one will see you execute the plan on the days you'd rather rest. They will only see the gap, the widening distance between where you are and where they remain, and they will not understand how it grew. They will call it talent. They will call it luck. They will call it anything but what it is, the quiet, relentless enforcement of a law you live by every day. I will command myself before I seek to command anything else. The man who governs himself walks a different path than the man who is governed by his surroundings. He does not measure his day by how the world treated him, but by how he treated the world. He does not wait to see what conditions will allow. He creates the conditions he requires. And the daily habit that keeps him ahead is simple in its structure, but limitless in its effect. He begins and ends each day in command of his mind. This is not a metaphor. This is the most literal truth you will ever hear about success. If the first thought you allow into your mind each morning is one of purpose, and the last thought you allow before sleep is one of deliberate direction, you will have set the bookends of your day so firmly that the middle cannot fall into chaos without your consent. But if the first and last thoughts you permit are dictated by the noise of others, you will live in reaction, no matter how hard you try to advance. Purpose is the anchor in the storm. It is not a mood. It is not a passing enthusiasm. It is the clear, unshakable choice of a destination and the refusal to let go of it under any pressure. Without it, your daily habit is unmoored. You may have discipline, but it will serve a dozen different masters. You may have initiative, but it will scatter you in a dozen different directions. Purpose gives unity to every move you make. And yet, the moment you commit to that purpose, you will face the most subtle of enemies, the emotional current of the crowd. They will pull at you with their fears, their excitements, their doubts, their urgencies. If you let them, they will make your purpose a passenger in their boat, tossed wherever they are tossed. This is why you must build the habit of emotional detachment into the very fabric of your day. Detachment means that your inner weather is not dictated by the outer climate. When others are in panic, you remain steady. When others are drunk with victory, you remain steady. Your decisions are not rushed by their fear or slowed by their comfort. You measure, you decide, you act all on your own clock. And because of this, your progress is uninterrupted. while theirs comes in bursts and collapses. But calmness without movement is only a well-kept prison. Discipline is the force that marches you forward day after day when the excitement has faded and the results are not yet visible. It is the habit of obeying your own command without negotiation. Discipline is the proof that your word to yourself is binding. It is what makes others trust you, not because of what you promise them, but because they can see you keep your promises to yourself. However, even discipline can become a trap if it is not guided by truth. Marching forward at full speed toward the wrong goal is not progress, it is waste. Accurate thinking is the habit that prevents this. It is the refusal to build on assumption, the insistence on testing every belief, the courage to dismantle a plan when the facts demand it. This habit will keep you free from the slow decay that destroys most men, the decay of pursuing a flawed course simply because they have already invested in it. And then comes the habit that makes all the others visible to the world, personal initiative. Without it, purpose remains an idea, detachment remains a feeling, discipline remains a routine, and accuracy remains a theory. Initiative turns them into movement. It is the habit of acting before being told, of seizing the opening before the crowd sees it, of creating momentum rather than waiting for it. This daily habit to rise with purpose, guard the gates of your mind, act with discipline, think with accuracy, and move with initiative is not a part-time commitment. It must be a law. Break it, and you will begin to slide back into the 99%. Keep it, and the distance between you and them will widen with each day until it becomes unbridgeable. They will not understand. They will call you lucky. They will say you were born with something they were not. They will never admit that the advantage was built quietly in the hours they wasted, and you will not need them to understand, for by then the results will speak in a language louder than explanation. Stay ahead of them, not by running faster in their race, but by running a race they cannot see, the race of self-command. In this race, there is no finish line, because mastery is not a destination. It is the condition that allows you to reach any destination you choose. Win here, and you will never lose anywhere else. If you wish to rise above the 99, you must first understand why they remain where they are. They do not remain there because they are incapable, or because fate has denied them opportunity. They remain there because they refuse to accept the cost of mastery. They choose the small ease of emotional release over the enduring power of emotional control. They choose the brief comfort of distraction over the lasting security of discipline. They choose the sweet taste of agreement over the sharp edge of accurate thinking. And they choose the illusion of safety in inaction over the decisive courage of initiative. To master yourself, you must reject these trades. You must decide that the cost of discipline is less than the cost of regret, and then you must pay that cost every day, without fail. It begins with the morning, for the morning is the forge of the day. The 99 begin their mornings in servitude, servants to the alarm clock they resent, servants to the messages they check before their own mind has awakened, servants to the demands of others, before they have even stated their own demands. By the time they leave their home, their mind is already in the hands of the world. But the man who stays ahead begins his day with sovereignty. His first thoughts are his own. He decides what enters the fortress of his mind before the gates are opened. He does not step into the noise until his purpose is armed, his emotions are in rank, and his discipline is awake. He understands that to win the day, he must own the morning, and to own the morning, he must own himself. Here is where definiteness of purpose becomes more than a phrase, it becomes a living command. Purpose is not simply knowing what you want, it is deciding that all else will be measured by its ability to bring you closer to that aim. The man of purpose looks at every choice and asks only, does this advance me? If it does not, it is refused, not later, not when there's time, but immediately and without negotiation. And yet, no sooner will you fix your purpose than the world will test it. It will send you praise to lull you, criticism to shake you, temptations to lure you, and fears to freeze you. This is why emotional detachment must be carved into your nature. Without it, you will dance to the music of the crowd, speeding up when they cheer, slowing down when they boo. Detachment is the habit of seeing without absorbing, hearing without reacting, feeling without surrendering control. It does not mean coldness, it means sovereignty. When anger rises, you hold it until you choose its form. When excitement surges, you measure it against your plan before you act. This is the habit that prevents your enemies from pulling you off course and your friends from unknowingly delaying you. But detachment without discipline is a calm ship without a rudder. Discipline is the daily enforcement of the orders you have given yourself. It is the act of execution when excuses are plentiful. It is the choice to rise on time, to work when tired, to complete the task fully because you said you would, and your word is law. The undisciplined man may feel inspired, but he will fall when the feeling fades. The disciplined man moves forward whether the feeling is present or not, and because he moves, the feeling often returns. This is why discipline creates momentum that emotion alone can never sustain. Still, discipline unguided is dangerous. You could work tirelessly on the wrong path and only discover too late that speed has carried you away from your purpose. This is where accurate thinking guards you. Accurate thinking demands that you separate fact from opinion, truth from assumption, evidence from rumor. It forces you to test every belief against reality. And it requires the humility to admit when you are wrong quickly, before the wrong direction costs more than it must. And then there is personal initiative, the rarest habit of all. It is the habit of acting without permission, of starting without certainty, of moving before the crowd moves. Initiative changes your role from a player reacting to the game to the one setting the game's terms. It is the act that turns your plan into reality, your potential into results, your life into something that was built, not received. When you live by these 5 habits, purpose, detachment, discipline, accuracy, initiative, you create a compounding effect. Each day builds on the last. The distance between you and the 99 grows, not because you are moving faster in their race, but because you are running a different race entirely, one they cannot even see until it is too late to catch you. They will wonder why their bursts of effort cannot match your steady advance. They will curse the luck that seems to favor you. They will blame the breaks that seem to fall into your hands. But the truth is that you have been engineering those breaks in silence one day at a time by holding yourself to a law they have never known. I will command myself before I seek to command anything else. If you can make this habit the axis around which your life turns, you will reach a point where competition becomes irrelevant. You will no longer be trying to beat others. You will simply be creating results they cannot match because they do not possess the inner machinery to produce them. And in that state, you will understand the quiet truth that all great builders, leaders, and conquerors have known, that victory is never first won on the battlefield. It is won in the mind of the one who leads. The difference between the 99% and the man who commands himself is not found in a single act of brilliance or one extraordinary effort. It is found in the compounding effect of small, exacting habits executed with unbreakable consistency. The crowd looks for a single breakthrough to change everything. The man of mastery builds each day as a stone in an unshakable wall until one morning he wakes and realizes there is no force that can breach what he has built. Understand this. Habit is stronger than desire. Desire burns brightly but briefly. Habit burns steadily and forever. You may desire to wake early, to work with focus, to maintain composure, but until you engrave it into habit, you will relapse the moment desire fades. The masses live in the cycle of want, try, quit, repeat. You must escape this cycle by moving your disciplines from the realm of willpower into the realm of identity. When an action becomes identity, it ceases to require choice. The disciplined man does not choose each day whether he will act with discipline. He acts because it is who he island. The detached man does not choose each day whether he will guard his emotions. He guards them because it is what he does. This is why you must train these principles until they operate automatically, like the beating of your heart. The first step is to own your mental real estate. Your mind is the capital from which all wealth, all achievement, all power flows. Yet most people lease this land to anyone who wants to build upon it. Advertisers, gossipers, politicians, critics, even strangers whose opinions have no weight in truth. They live in a mind cluttered with structures they did not choose, built by hands they did not authorize. You must evict these tenants. Tear down the structures that do not serve your purpose. Reclaim every inch of your mental territory and then build upon it with thoughts, beliefs, and visions that serve your destiny. This is not poetic language, it is the literal process of curating what you allow into your awareness each day. Once you have reclaimed your mind, guard it with detachment. The crowd reacts to everything: a headline, a rumor, a comment, a glance. They give away their mental resources to events and people that will be forgotten tomorrow. This is why they have no power left for the work that truly matters. You cannot afford such waste. Train yourself to pause before responding in thought, in speech, in action. The moment between stimulus and response is where your power lies. In that space, you can measure the event against your purpose. You can ask, will reacting to this bring me closer to my aim? Will it strengthen me or weaken me? Will it serve my destiny or serve my ego? In the silence of that question, you will find the advantage the 99% never take. From here, discipline becomes the hammer with which you shape the raw material of your life. The disciplined man knows that action is more important than mood. He understands that waiting for inspiration is the mark of an amateur, while the professional creates in its absence. He rises when he says he will, works when he says he will, finishes what he says he will, because anything less is a breach of his own law. Discipline builds trust with yourself, and that trust is the foundation of all confidence. The man who knows he will obey his own command does not hesitate. He does not second-guess his decisions in the moment of execution. He moves with the quiet authority of someone whose past actions have proven his present strength. But discipline must be guided by accurate thinking, for there is no virtue in persisting down a path proven false. Accurate thinking is the ability to separate fact from opinion, to see reality without the distortions of emotion or bias. It is the rare skill of aligning your perception with what is, not what you hope it to be. Train accurate thinking by questioning assumptions, especially your own. Ask for evidence, weigh sources, demand clarity. Most people would rather be certain and wrong than uncertain and right. You must reverse this. It is better to hesitate and be correct than to rush forward in error. Finally, personal initiative is the ignition that brings all of this to life. The man with initiative does not wait for an invitation to act. He does not ask if it is the right time. He makes it the right time. He moves before permission, before applause, before consensus. And because he moves first, he sets the terms others must follow. When you live with these habits in unison: purpose, detachment, discipline, accuracy, initiative, you begin to create an invisible momentum. Opportunities appear, not because they are rare, but because most people are too distracted, too emotional, too undisciplined, too clouded, or too hesitant to notice them. You see them because you are clear. You take them because you are ready. You keep them because you are consistent. And when you live like this long enough, something strange happens. You no longer compete. The race becomes yours alone. Others look at your results and try to explain them with luck, connections, timing, anything but the truth, because to admit the truth would force them to face the discipline they have avoided. The truth is this: you will never be stopped by external forces. You will only be stopped by the limits you accept within. Remove those limits, and the world cannot hold you. You have been told your whole life that success is about what you get. I am telling you now that true success is about what you become. If you build wealth but remain a slave to your impulses, you are still poor. If you gain position but cannot master your moods, you are still powerless. If you acquire influence but cannot command yourself, you are still at the mercy of others. Mastery is not a prize handed down. It is a fortress built from within. Every brick is a decision to remain calm when chaos demands reaction. Every wall is laid with the mortar of discipline when ease whispers its invitation. Every tower is raised through accurate thinking when the world tries to sell you illusions, and the flag at the highest point flies because you took initiative before anyone else dared. The crowd will never understand this. They will look at your results and think they were inevitable, as though the universe simply favored you. They will not see the mornings you took control before the world could distract you. They will not see the emotions you chose to withhold until they could serve you. They will not see the temptations you refused, the false beliefs you discarded, the actions you took before opportunity was obvious. They will only see the distance between you and them, and they will wonder why it grows. But you will know. You will know that you are not simply ahead, you are operating on a plane they cannot yet reach, because they are still reacting to life while you are directing it. You will know that they are playing on shifting sand while you have built on bedrock, and you will know that the gap will never close because it was never about speed, it was about elevation. This is why your daily habit matters more than any single victory. Victories are moments, habits are lifetimes. One victory can be taken from you, a habit of victory cannot. It ensures that even if the world strips you of everything, you will rebuild faster, stronger, higher, because the machinery of your mind is intact. Do you see now why emotional detachment is not a suggestion, but a requirement? If the enemy can trigger you, he can control you. If the market can excite you, it can fool you. If a setback can discourage you, it can stop you. Detachment does not make you less human. It makes you more powerful. It keeps you clear when others are clouded, calm when others are frantic, steady when others are collapsing. And once you are detached, discipline becomes unstoppable. You do not wait to feel ready, you act because your law demands it. You do not bargain with yourself, you obey yourself. And because you obey, you build trust with yourself. And because you trust yourself, you act with confidence. And because you act with confidence, the world follows your lead. But discipline without accurate thinking is like a sharp blade swung blindly. You must see the truth, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. You must abandon what does not work, no matter how much you wish it would. You must strip your thinking of vanity, sentimentality, and fear until only reality remains. And when you have reality, you can shape it. Then comes initiative, the point where thought turns into destiny. The man of initiative waits for no signal. He does not ask, "Can I?" He asks, "How will I?" He understands that every day spent waiting is a day surrendered to someone else's advantage. He knows that action is the only way to prove the worth of his thoughts, and he knows that even imperfect action is worth more than perfect hesitation. When you combine these purpose, detachment, discipline, accuracy, initiative into a single way of living, you rise beyond competition. You stop chasing, stop reacting, stop looking over your shoulder. You move with such consistency and clarity that the game bends around you. And from that height, you will see what so few ever see, that the true battle was never against others. It was always against the weaker version of yourself, the one who wanted comfort instead of progress, the one who traded the future for the present, the one who feared risk more than regret. That version dies a little more each day you live by these laws until one day he is gone entirely, and all that remains is the master of himself. When that day comes, you will no longer ask, "Can I stay ahead?" You will know that the question is meaningless because you are not ahead. You are alone on a higher plane. And from there is no falling back. So burn the old map, break the old clock, destroy the old self, live by the law you have built and never break it. And you will not merely stay ahead of the 99%, you will exist in a realm they cannot reach. The weaker self will not go quietly. Even now, as you prepare to walk the path of mastery, it will whisper its last temptations. It will tell you that you can afford to relax, that you can ease up now that you are ahead. This is the most dangerous moment of all, the moment after progress, when vigilance seems unnecessary. Many have fallen here, lulled by the false comfort of past victories. But you must remember, mastery is not a summit, it is a state. It is not earned once, it is renewed daily. The rent for greatness is due every morning, and it is paid in the currency of your habits. The moment you stop paying, you begin to decline, not visibly at first, but quietly in the invisible erosion of standards. This is why your habits are your fortress. Purpose is the wall that keeps you facing forward. Detachment is the gate that admits only what serves you. Discipline is the guard that enforces your law. Accurate thinking is the watchtower that spots danger before it arrives. Initiative is the armory from which you launch your advances. With these in place, you will not merely weather storms, you will use them. While others hide from the wind, you will set your sails. While others curse the tide, you will ride it. And in every turn of fortune, you will find advantage, because you are not bound to the same emotional tides that govern them. Understand this: the man who cannot be shaken cannot be stopped. The market may change, the season may turn, allies may vanish, enemies may rise, but if your inner state remains under your control, you will adjust without panic, strike without hesitation, and recover without delay. This is why emotional mastery is the first victory in every great life. And when the world sees your consistency, they will come to you. Opportunities will find you. People will follow you. Not because you chase them, but because your steadiness makes you a fixed point in a chaotic world. You will become the one who is counted on, the one whose word holds weight, the one whose presence changes the terms of the game. This is the real reward of mastery, not only the wealth, the position, the influence, but the knowledge that you built it, that it cannot be taken from you because it lives in you. You are no longer at the mercy of fortune. You are the author of it. So let this be the law you live by. I will command myself before I seek to command anything else. Let it govern your mornings, your decisions, your emotions, your actions. Let it strip away weakness until nothing remains but the clear, disciplined, unshakable version of yourself. From that self, there is no return to the old ways. From that self, the world will no longer feel like something to survive, but something to shape. And when others wonder how you rose so far, you will not explain. You will simply keep moving forward, as you always have in command, ahead, untouchable. And in that forward march, you will know with final certainty, you have not merely stayed ahead of the 99%. You have left them behind forever.